liberty, and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, please guide us in our capacity to learn this difficult subject and to make the decisions that are right for the town of Monrovia. Amen.
Will you jump in?
I'd like to welcome Greg. How do you say your last name? Gutierrez? Garitas.
Garitas. And Tate.
Are you a Garitas also?
No.
Well, we'd like to welcome Greg Garitas and Tate from Financial Solutions. We are recording for the state.
Sure.
Yeah, so
Back to July 1.
we've been doing it thanks to Mary Ann. She's had it going for 6 months now, so very proud of her for that. All right. Yeah, if you want to take the mic and lead us on our path.
Mike's not on, okay.
Right. I've done this at least once before.
It's not on.
Oh, it went off. She shut me off. Or the battery.
Battery dead.
Do you need a different one? You can borrow.
You kick it?
Here.
You can do Carol's.
Do I have to talk like Carol now?
She doesn't say much.
Okay, good.
But when she says something, it's usually pretty good.
Okay. Oops, now it's working, I can tell. Good afternoon and welcome to Budget 101 Alphabet Soup. Because the key is you got to know what's going on, both at the state level, both what the budget terminology is and all that stuff, especially if you go talk to your neighbors. And there's some things I'm going to point out different with Monrovia as far as that is concerned when you talk to some of your neighbors. So, page 1, DLGF. Everybody knows when you use the term DLGF, it's Department of Local Government Finance, and they're responsible for overseeing your entire budget process. Hey, Chief, we can get Chief a copy if you've got an extra copy. Keep in mind that the DLGF has changed leadership and everything very recently. Phil, welcome aboard. We got to get Phil a copy. So we just started, so you didn't miss it too much. Since you know me, I don't have to reintroduce myself.
Yeah.
So they've taken a more aggressive attitude on if you miss a deadline, if Ricky spells his name wrong, or things like that, they could actually throw out your entire budget. So timelines are absolute. President's calling you, Lori.
Robocall.
Okay. So you got to pay really close attention. If for some reason you set up your meeting in the Form 3 and you don't do that meeting, you got to re-advertise the Form 3. Those dates and making sure your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted was really important going forward. Okay. There are no exceptions lately. So FYI. Sustainability. When we talk about your sustainability, what we're talking about is keeping the 26 budget and going through what I call high inflationary times, which we're just getting, cost after cost after cost. I'm sure you see that in your utility and here, and the possibility of lower growth in revenues. Now, Ricky, when we come down to the interest income for 2026, Form 2, which Form 2 is the miscellaneous Form 2, and I'll go over that when we go through the 1782, but you're going to want to keep that a little lower for 2026, and we'll give you guidance on that. Because more than likely interest income rates are going down, right, for next year. So that will affect, one of your miscellaneous revenues.
Is that directly related to like the
Fed funds? Yeah, and not directly associated with Fed funds, but as Fed funds go down, interest income rate goes down. As Fed funds go up, it went up, and there's a lagging effect.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, we haven't had any cuts though, right? But you're expecting
Not
some.
yet, yes, yeah. I mean, let's put it this way, you see the news headline every day, like, let's get rid of Chairman Powell so we can lower rates. You know, so it's a matter of, now, the interest income rate has trended down regardless. We used to be able to get a CD at 4.5, and now they're more like 3.5. So,
3.
okay, 3. You just bought one today,
I
Lauren?
did, no, it expired the end of last month.
Hmm.
So I'm moving the money.
Yep, okay. Gateway. Gateway is the official point, we like to call it, it's where Ricky's going to go in and enter the information, and people out here, you guys included, could go in there and log on as a concerned citizen and see the information of Monrovia once it's uploaded. But from a practical standpoint, we're talking about the town's part of Gateway, and that's where any debt, the budget goes in and all that other stuff. So 1782, okay, that's the second document that Tate passed out. Okay, this one I'm going to go through in detail a little later here, but this is the document that, if you see right here, that this was sent out January 3rd at the top. This was this year's 1782 notice. And notice how it says January, get your response back by January 13th. So in the past, what we had, we get carbon copy this and we get with Ricky and we say, okay, it looks okay. In the past, about 6 out of 10 of these were wrong. Lately, about 1 out of 10 have been wrong, but they have been wrong before. Okay, so secondary set of eyes is important, and that's the role and responsibility that we've done in the past with Monrovia. So when this document comes out, and January 3rd, sometimes it even comes out on January 1st, and so the 10 days is an absolute. Okay, so that's where if we had some error, or if we have to sign it and say, yeah, we agree with it. Okay, budget categories, back to the main document. Everybody knows when we talk about budget categories, that in local government, in the counties, we just put an extra digit, so it's 1,000. But 100s are personal services, 200s are supplies, 300 other services and charges, and 400 capital outlay. And you have that legal size budget form 1. I looked over that. It's looking good, and that's those categories that show up in that file, in that document. You guys have seen your form 1, right? You guys worked on it all? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Oh, okay, yes, this is, Mary Ann sent it to us, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so see how on the general funds, that's all 101, but personal services over here is the 100s, and then you see the 200s, okay? And that's how the extra number on the back in 300s, and you don't really have any 400s, okay? The last 3 digits, the 381 on the back page, and that. So when you talk 100s, 200s, 300s, and 400s, capital outlays, most of the time, people do not even have capital outlays anymore in their general fund. In the good old days, we used to put maybe 10, 15,000 in there and be able to spend it from the general fund, but there's not enough general fund money, right? And you don't have a dime in there, okay? And you could put one. So, okay. Stop me at any point in time if none of this makes sense, okay? Or if you're not clear. Okay, local income tax, or LIT. So when everybody says LIT, that's the global term, and then you have 3 LITs, okay? Or you collect 3 LITs. You collect number 1, property tax replacement credit. Now, Lauren, you've been here 15 years, so if I ask you, does the property tax replacement credit go into the general fund? Without putting you totally on the spot, you're going to say yes, right? Good answer. Good answer, Lauren. And Bill, we're coming to you next because you're a veteran here too. So economic development income tax is a separate fund, and you budget that back here on your economic development income tax fund. And let's see, I saw that earlier.
Gotta be here.
Right there, it is on page 4. And you basically kept your numbers the same for 2026, or at least what I'm seeing is, and the council really, who did the right-hand side, the 2026? The council as a whole, or,
Marion.
okay, Marianne, you did? Okay. So that's probably wise at this point in time until we look at your 630 balances. Have you closed your 630 balance yet,
I've not.
Ricky? Okay. So,
What's a 630 balance?
yeah, so.
End of
so-
June.
Into June.
Yeah.
So let me go, you've got one other fund, public safety, number 3, one other LIT. So your LIT is split up between CAGIT, which is property tax replacement, economic development income tax, and public safety. Okay, so when we talk about LIT, at this point in time, we're talking about global, and notice all current LITs will self-destruct at the end of 2027. Okay,
Can you show me real quick on page 4 where this is? I do not
It's
see.
on
it.
Sure.
3. It's on 3.
economic development,
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
on
that's
3.
well, it
Bottom
makes,
of 3.
He had said page 4, that's why I was looking. at it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was looking at that too because he said 4 and I
I
sounded.
was looking at 4 and
Okay.
public safety, and I
okay,
I'm
then,
sorry.
then guess what? Our pagination might be different, because right here is economic development on page 4.
There's economic development on page 3.
Yeah, well, all of ours is on 3.
Yeah, we printed off what how.
I bet it's because I added in one line item,
Ah.
because we had hired a cleaning lady.
Aha.
That's
On
why,
there.
that's why.
So
You're
let
like,
me give you the most current, I believe. the
You're like,
most-
he
It's-
should
it's
have eaten more
absolutely
lunch
fine. I
or
just
something.
I'm
didn't-
fine too. It's just.
I
Oh,
just
that
wanted
way.
to say, I don't see it.
That way,
Yes.
when he's looking at it, he can reference the correct page.
Perfect.
Here you go.
Yes. Paul
I
Harvey,
had
page 2.
forgotten about our cleaning lady.
Can't forget about your cleaning lady. But boy, that sure threw me off.
And you mentioned the 630.
Well, so your economic development on page 3,
Mhm.
and public safety then is on page 4. Okay, now, look at the bottom down here. Now we're at the bottom of the first document again. Budgets cover an 18-month period. Okay. Now you're going to say, no, this budget covers 12 months. Where'd you get 18? Okay. When we fill out with Ricky the Form 4B, or the gateway that creates this, you're looking at what happens from June 1st of this year, 2025, and thereafter, or actually July 1,
1st, yeah.
July 1st, and thereon, for the last 6 months of this year, that's 6 months. Then you're looking at 2026, that's 12 months. So you're looking at full 18 months. Now you're looking at the revenue side and the expense side. Okay? So if you have a cash balance, once we get the information from Ricky, and you have, let's say, not half of your budget spent, but only 30% of your budget spent in the first half of the year, okay? Then what the calculation is going to assume is the other 70% gets spent the second half of the year. Now that may or may not be true. What happens if there's a sidewalk in there for $20,000 or something in there for $20,000, and I'm talking about each and every fund. not just the general fund. Then, and you say, Greg, we're not going to do that the second half of the year. There is a way we can adjust that out. It's called a line 2 adjustment, and we can put it into 26. So what I'm trying to get across to you is where you're at June 30th, what you spent in the first half versus what you're going to spend in the second half. You really need to think about that, okay? And be concerned with all 18 months, especially on the revenue side. Now, I'm assuming, Ricky, you've got all your revenues in for the first half of the year. Okay, nothing came after July 1, right? So next year, that might be a little more difficult because AVs are going to be slow coming out for 2026. And so hopefully settlements next year will not be off. But there's been years when we've received our December tax payment in January all across the state.
Why
Yes,
are
sir.
they slow coming?
Why are they slow coming? Because the state did all these funky little things like give everybody a $300 credit basically the computer systems don't know how to do it yet. So
Major changes. Anytime you have a new computer system or major
Right.
process change, it's going to cause hiccups.
exactly. So keeping in mind what we might do the remaining of this year, since we're now past July 1, right? And what we want to do there is just pro rata spend it. That's okay. But if there's anything in there big, such as this is kind of important. We've seen that here before in economic development income tax. So page 3. So if you didn't spend the other services and charges of 30, and you try and put 30 here and 30 in next year, and you are not going to receive the full amount of 70, 15, and 30, all of that revenue, then we may have to take one of that 30 and take it out of this year and put it in next year. It doesn't always work both places, okay? Because you don't get that much revenue, okay? And so that's what I'm trying to tell you is kind of important in the development of this budget is we've got to, this is a great first run at it. Once we get to June 30th and we work through the numbers on Gateway, it might not be able to be handled in both funds.
When is the June 30th due in Gateway?
Technically, there is no due date other than you can't have your budget hearing until it's done. Okay.
Oh.
And so technically, it ought to be done by August 1. So, and your field rep will be have you set up your meeting with the field rep yet?
I was gonna get with
Us, because we'd like to be on it too. It's by teams. And so usually they'll be capturing you later in July or the 1st of August. And we'll want all that. You'll need to close your books and we'll want all that in Gateway before we meet with you. Matter of fact, we just completed a budget in Hancock County today already. So, so we can, as soon as you get that all reconciled, we can start working on it. And Tate's pretty good at it, or Charlie, or any of us will be able to help you. Okay. So does that kind of make sense, that 18 months? Okay. Okay, back to the main document. So I'm on second page of that main document, which probably should have put page 2 on that. Assessed value. Everybody knows assessed value, and everybody knows you're supposed to get this $300 lesser of 10% or $300 on your tax bill, right? And guess what that means to the town? So I'm the governor. Okay, I'm playing the governor for a minute. Don't throw anything at me, please. And I'm going to give all of you taxpayers 10% or $300 credit. Now, when I go to my Ways and Means chairman, Bob Thompson, Mr. Thompson, which, by the way, I voted for him and I live in his district. So I sat down with him for about an hour or two at Rural King. After Rural King, we had popcorn at Rural King, and then we went to Emmy's in Avon. But I said, Bob, when the governor said, how are we going to pay for this? What was the answer? State's not going to pay for it. The locals are going to pay for it. So what does that mean? That means your circuit breaker is going up. Okay.
I don't know what a circuit breaker is.
Right. We're going to go through that here in just a minute. Well, let's go through it right now, because I don't think we need to add that to this, because that's right. Circuit breaker probably has not been discussed with you all, but circuit breaker. Okay. Bill's got it down by heart. So Tammy, let's say your house is worth $150,000. Okay. Circuit breaker to you as a homeowner means you will not pay over 1%. You know the headline was 1, 2, 3,
Mhm.
and it was a headline. It was not a calculation, and then it was added to the Constitution as a non-calculated number. It made a headline 1, 2, 3. But what it means to you is that you do not pay over 1% of your $150,000 gross assessed value home. Okay, so it means you don't pay more than $1,500, right? If I move my decimal places in all the right places, that makes sense. And if not, correct me. And so he's my backup. And so the $1,500 means that you will not pay over that. Now, let's say when we take the total tax rate in Morgan County in Monrovia, and let's say, for example, your actual tax bill, once it's calculated on net assessed valuation, and by the way, this is all spelled out in your sustainability that we put together for you last year, okay? And so if you take that and your tax bill turns out to be $1,700, well, that's about $200 higher than the 1%. So what does that mean? That means you become a happy clam or happy seal, and you go, all right, I don't have to pay $1,700, I only pay $1,500, right? And sorry, I like to keep this a little light, right? Fun, a little fun. And so you won't pay over $1,500. Now, what happens to that $200? You didn't pay it. So whose hide does it come out of? Well, now let's switch circuit breaker and talk about the effect on the town. Ricky goes back into his dark, deep room, starts putting together in Gateway, all the budgets, trying to fund it with property taxes. And he says, DLGF, I need 100 and let's see, if we go to page right here, page 3 of 3 on your 1782, Ricky says, I need $113,000 to fund this budget and make it work. And he files this paperwork. Well, what happens is that 200, we're going to blame it on you, Tammy, that 200 that you didn't pay, okay, gets proportioned to all the taxing units. And so what happens when Ricky adds up his property taxes that he actually got in 2025, if we were at the end of the year, it would not be 113, it would be less. This is kind of one of the dumbest things I ever that's great for the taxpayer, horrible for the town to run its business on, okay? Because, we know we get an estimate of how much less the 113 is, but technically the town needs 113 to run it. And when you're a town this small, you're starting to get her kind of close. What was your June 30th balance in the general fund?
I think it was, might have been on.
Maybe a couple hundred, maybe 100,000.
Yeah, I think it was 111,000.
Okay, starting to get closer and closer. And so, when they don't give you the full 113 and you build a budget based upon the whole 113, what does that really tell you? Tells you you can't really spend the entire budget, right?
Right.
And so it's great for you, Tammy, as a taxpayer. It's horrible for the town because it's lost revenue. Now, so when the governor went back to Ways and Means and said, how are we gonna pay for it? And they said, we're gonna put it back on the locals, your 113 is gonna be less. So the state said, aha, up here at the top of the second page, the growth quotient, they call it the AVGQ, and basically it's just the growth quotient they bestow on you, is 4% for 2026. So everybody went, yeehaw. The state didn't cut because it's been 3%, it's been 2%. You know, they were so horrible to local government. Why were they so nice at 4%? Because that's a pretty high number. Well, when you have popcorn with a certain representative, he'll tell you, well, that's actually 2%. I'm like, okay, 4 equals 2. How'd you get there? The $300 impact on each municipality in the state of Indiana in general is about 2% more on circuit breaker. So 2% more loss of the 113,000. And so therefore I said, so I shouldn't go to all the towns. And whenever all the towns say, oh, 4% growth quotient in the old days, Phil, we can give a 4% raise, right? We can raise everything 4%. Well, wrong. That they gave you 4 because you're going to lose 2. So their growth quotient really is 2. And probably in 2027, they're just going to mandate 2 because they won't have 300. The 300 are already be built in. Okay. So FYI.
Or it could be 0.
Or it could be 0. Good point. Okay. But he pretty much said probably going to be 2 in 27. So, okay.
It'll come out to about 0. So.
Yeah. So, Tammy, you as a taxpayer going to get your $1,500 cap, right? And you're going to get your $300 credit or 10%, lesser of 10% of 300. And in my example, that's $150. Okay, 10%. So you wouldn't get 300, you'd get a $150 credit. And that's going to be taken out of, again, the town's HUD. Okay, that's how it's going to be paid.
But the AVs have gone up significantly.
Hopefully. Now, you haven't gotten your 26 AV.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think the town has. I'm talking about like my property tax assessed value went up like $40,000.
Did it?
Mine
Okay.
did too.
Okay.
And I don't live in Monrovia.
Good.
My parents did.
So let's
I was
go.
gonna say Morgan County's being very aggressive with their assessed values.
And
I agree.
that's good, but you got to remember there's a new supplemental homestead credit, and
An
there's a
extra
new
$3,000.
deduction. So your gross went up. You didn't see your net, did you?
I feel like it's all on there.
I think maybe you got your gross, not your net.
What's the difference? Like, what do they take out to give you your net?
Yeah, so they take out supplemental homestead credit and those things. And do we have that graph, Kate?
So you used to have the
from
homestead credit,
presentation?
you used to have a mortgage exemption, and they
Right.
added the mortgage exemption in, so it's 48,000 off your assessed value.
Right,
Is that what
that's
you're talking about?
Yes, and that's going up in the future here, especially for 26. So I'm thinking I got my Form 11 notice, that was gross assessed, not net.
Gotcha.
Okay, so yes. So now let's put it this way. That would be awesome. Let's say your AV increases overall, the town's AV increases 10%. Does that mean 10% new money?
I'm guessing not.
Right. What does that do? That makes your
Circuit breaker matter?
14 pennies, first of all, go down. Okay, so now we're in this section called tax rate. Okay, and max levy. So your max levy of 176, you see that on the 1782? That's your max levy, everyone. Your working max levy. And technically, your normal max levy is what will grow by 4%, that 113,000. I'm on page 3 of 3 of their document.
Yeah, okay. Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
3 of 3 of their document. You see the 14 pennies, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you see right down here in the unit, normal maximum levy, 113,000.
Mhm.
Okay, that's what's going to grow by 4%. AV grows by 10%. Does that give you more money? No. It basically lowers, everybody see the 14 pennies? The 14 pennies go down.
Mhm.
Okay, so yay raw if you get 10% overall net assessed value growth, that's great, but it'll just drive down the property tax rate. It will not bring in more money, except, there's always an exception in there, Lauren, except this one line item called Cume Capital Development. See how that says a nickel? 5 pennies? Okay. Now, Phil, if you remember.
Yeah, we pushed that through.
Yeah,
Several years
we
ago.
took heat for it.
Yes, we
We
did.
took heat in the kitchen.
Yep.
Because that was, and it's in this document, it was like half that. And we kept saying, get to 5.5 pennies. That's the max.
It was
Okay.
like 21. Was it 20?
Yeah, it was, in 24, I think it was 0.16, 1 penny, 1.6 pennies. And we bumped it up to the max of 5 pennies, which is the best thing we did, because that brought in 62,000, which it would have brought in, 1/4 of that. Okay, so by making that change, you actually got about 45,000 more. Now, Tammy, yes, you paid a little more, but that went into the Cume Capital Development Fund, the most valuable fund there is over and above the general fund at this point in time, because that gives you some money to save up for basically capital projects, some pay as you go. Okay, so that's the pay as you go capital money.
Now, can that be appropriated if we do have a revenue shortfall in 26?
Well, it is appropriated. Matter of fact, Mary Ann put it on page, which should be your page, my page. Cume Capital Development is on page 3, and it's $10,000. Now, so what we're going to want, was there a question?
No, you're right.
What we're going to want to do, and I'm going to take you to this magical document called the 1782 on page 2 of 3. Okay, we've kept a $10,000 appropriation. If you had, Marianne, if we have a project that might be $25,000 and we want to do that as a pay as you go for 2026, because we've gotten the increased money in 2025, we've got a little more room to make a strategic change in that budget. Does that make sense? And again, we'll work that out a little bit more when Ricky and I have our Come to Jesus meeting on the 6:30. And so once we get that, we'll be able to say, hey, think out loud a little bit about, maybe 25,000. Okay. Now, if you don't need it, does everybody know what the definition of cum is, or cumulative? Means kind of, maybe it rolls over, right? Every year.
It's like a CD.
So, yeah. So, it will accumulate. So if you've got that matching, if we've got that matching grant for community crossing, and we need that, this is a good place to match it. And, maybe we don't have a project for 20. Are you going to file something for 2026 on community?
We've
Cume
told
Cross-
that they're on hold right now.
Pardon me?
We've been told they're on hold right now.
They are for this year, but they're gonna have one for next year. They're gonna have, right, the November got nixed because they ran out of money and ran out of time. And, you know, all those kind of things. But they're gonna do a call, for 2026 and or going forward for 26 and 27, at least the two next budget years. So you wanna strategically think, and you're probably the low enough that you get 80-20, right? 80% you only match with 20.
I
So
think we had to do 25 on the,
I think maybe it changed.
I think we had to do 25.
Okay, 75-25.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
So I want you to think again. Here's a point. You know, this may be our match for our community crossings, because the match for community crossings is going to get a little tougher. It's either going to come into basically edit, or it's going to fall in this CUME fund, or if the roof needs replaced. This is great for community, for CUME capital development, or we call it CCD. Okay, so now I'm taking you through, you know, all of this. Now let me take you back here. Since I was on CUME, I'm back on page 3 of 3 of the 1782. We'll keep calling this a 1782 document. See that $62,000 that was created by the 5 pennies. Notice the miscellaneous change of 80,000. Notice the minus of Lowit of 17. So if you do the math, it's 113 minus 17. 17 comes back into the 80. The 80 is coupled up with the 62, and it means it pushes up your maximum levy. Okay, what did I just tell you? The CUME capital development 5 pennies is outside your maximum levy. So when I say your maximum levy growth is 4%, that's that 113. If our AV in the town goes up 10% and CCD is out from underneath the max levy, shouldn't we get more money? The
you
answer is
lost me
yes.
with the CCD and the max levy.
So the max levy, or it is, the CCD is not under the max levy. So that's controlled at 4%. So if you added 20 million of AV on top of your 125 million, you would now get your 5 pennies on that 20 million. So if we grow at 10% in overall net AV, which I don't think you're going to, I hope you do. I don't think you're going to after the new deductions. Okay, then what there will be is more money as a result of that 5 pennies. That's why we said you guys are losing money, guys and gals are losing money every year. You got to get it to the max. Now, can you take it above 5 pennies? No, that's the state max. By the way, that state max is probably older than all of us. You know, it's been around a long time. Okay, real long time. And it's for counties, it's 3.33 pennies. You don't need to know that, other than it's smaller than yours. And so, and it's been around the same length of time. They need to update it because it technically is, you know, it's too low, but they aren't going to do it. Okay, so now you just had a complex course, okay, on max levy, CCD interaction, and now you're armed and dangerous. Okay, but you also know that you got some ways that, you know, there are no absolutes other than absolutely we will probably die. And, you know, that's an absolute. And so, you know, the answer is in budgeting here, there is no absolute. So the growth quotient applies to some of it, but not all of it. Now, one of the most misunderstood things, and I pointed this out, and not that you'd ever want to do it, but you notice you have your 9 pennies going to the general fund. Mm-hmm. if for some reason you start running out of money in one of the other funds, like the park and rec and the motor vehicle, you could put a penny in there in the future. Okay, that you would have to budget it, you'd have to adopt it that way and things like that. I'm not telling you to do that because everybody generally believes in the general fund's the best place.
Why wouldn't we want to go ahead and do it anyways?
Why would you want to?
Yeah, why wouldn't we want to do it? I mean, it seems
Well,
like it's a
because-
good idea because you're saying in the future, we should go ahead and. consider it.
Well,
Why wouldn't we be considerate now, considering what the
Well-
town's gonna end up with less?
so, right, so the 9 would become 8 and you'd put 1 in Parks and Recs, let's say, and you would have 8 pennies in general. So general fund would go down.
Oh, yeah,
So you got to share the wealth, right, Phil?
yeah.
So, it's
6 of one, half a dozen.
It's
of the other.
flexibility.
it's flexibility. Somebody says, "Oh my gosh, I got to match it up with a community crossing grant, or I got to match it up with a park grant, and I need more money, so I'm going to earmark it by coming up with the tax rate and putting it in." I'm just telling you, it is possible. I'm not recommending it at this point in time. So I'm not trying to confuse you. But if you go to one of your neighbors and they say, well, our general fund is 8 pennies and our park fund is 1 penny, I don't want you to come back and say, well, Greg never said we could do that. Well, yeah, you can.
But
Okay.
if we leave all 9 pennies in the general fund, we can always take money out of the general fund and put it in Parks and Rec if we have a shortfall.
Because we even defined it in this document as general fund monies can be used for the general purpose of the community.
So
Yes.
it's pointless to go ahead and move the pennies, especially when we just can go
Right.
ahead and make an appropriation out of the general fund.
Correct. And then Ricky has to take his property tax dollars and divide them into a couple. But, and since, the whole schematic design changes in 2028, stay tuned. So, okay. So I'm down there at the bullet that says always use a lower AV for gateway. Starting in 2028, we're going to go back to advertising the 14 pennies. And we're going to have a special hearing on when the 14 pennies goes to 15 pennies. And we'll have to have another public hearing in our budget. But that does not apply for the 26 budget or the 27 budget. But you'll hear everybody say, the budget's going to take a lot more time. Yes, it is. So Ryan, if you ever thought about jumping, don't jump until 28, 29. That's when it'll take up more of your time. Okay?
He's going nowhere.
Can I?
Yes.
Okay, so you're saying, so it could go up from the 14. So that's only if the state goes ahead and raises it from the 9, because we can't move with that nickel at all.
Now let me make sure I understood your question. Say that again.
You said that those 14 pennies, they could go to 15.
Correct.
How?
Okay, well,
Because the
let's,
state says, right now. we
well,
can
for,
only do 9.
for instance, your 4% growth quotient could make you advertise higher than 14 pennies. Okay, it could make it go to 14 and a half pennies. Okay, if AV doesn't grow.
If it doesn't.
Yeah.
But right now, we're looking at half. Okay,
Right,
got it.
right. But let's say if you did a general obligation bond
Mhm.
and you put in a debt service rate, then the 15 pennies could go. Okay, by that new debt levy. And you have to have public hearings on
Yeah,
that too.
yeah.
So just FYI.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay, so we're always saying, we generally, DLGF says use 80%. When we've done this before, Ricky, last year, we took your 125 million, and I even sat here in front of council and said, I'm using 110 million, and everybody said, why? That's because, you never know, that AV may go down. And I can't wait, Tammy, for your overall AV. I'm hoping. But that way, the 14 pennies, it doesn't get advertised per se, but in a document you see, it's going to be advertised more at like 16 or 18 pennies. And why is that? Because there's things that happen sometimes. The AV gets changed or whatever, and you never know. Appeal gets filed or something. So that's what we do there. Rainy day fund. Does everybody know what an emergency is? Let me share a couple of emergencies. We've had them downstate. Tornado hits the town. Okay, they need an appropriation to put temporary roofing on top of their town hall after the tornado hits tomorrow, not tonight or tomorrow when the tornado hits tonight. You got to be able to do that. That's what an emergency is, and that's why we put, and we actually installed a couple years ago that appropriation, and thanks for keeping that, Mary Ann, I saw that, and we label it just that. Now, let's see, what page?
Shit, 20, it's on front page.
Front page? That's right, it's very first one. I'm so used to it being in the back. The $10,000 is where you could go tomorrow to put a temporary roof on top of this building if it gets hit.
You mean the 20?
Pardon me?
You mean the 20,000? You're looking at 10. It's 20,000 under rainy day.
Got it. Casinos at the top,
Yeah,
10.
sorry.
20,000 is what you could use. Now, an emergency isn't, you got to go catch a few dogs, and put them in the kennel or something. That's not an emergency. People are like, well, what about, no, come on. Let's use a real term, emergency, because technically the rainy day fund is your last bottom dollar. And that's how you should look at it. Okay. And so questions on that? Yes, Lauren.
If you don't have a emergency with the rainy day funds, that carries over to the next year.
Absolutely.
So then it would be 20,000 plus 20,000.
No. Good thought. And guess why? The only way you get any money in the rainy day fund from now on is by moving moving excess funds to from the general fund into the rainy day fund.
Okay.
So this is going to be an example where we probably, Mary Ann, can't have 20 and 20. We've got to say, we're not going to spend our emergency this year, so we're going to de-appropriate it, and we're going to reset it up in 2026, so you have it available. Because, Lauren, my answer is, I don't think you're going to take excess money out of the general fund. I would not suggest that at this point in time.
That's the only way.
To move it.
That's the only way it's funded.
Yeah, now you and I have lived a few days, okay? And so in the past, when there was some supplemental LIT, that was, the state said, put it in rainy day, and you might remember, and you and Phil might remember those days, but that doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
Okay? So the only way money gets in the rainy day is you do a resolution, you find excess in the general fund, and you move it in. So,
Now,
great question.
That is something that can happen at the end of the year.
You can do that
And,
resolution anytime during the year,
okay.
up
But
to 10% of the budget.
if we have excess at the end of the year, we can move it to the rainy day fund and it would sit out there for
Yes, sir.
emergency.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Phil might say, if I was playing Phil for the day, I might say, well, what's the difference between it being in the rainy day fund and the general fund? Well, in the rainy day fund, it's there for emergency. And maybe the amount in the fund, off the top of your head that you knew this was going to be a test, didn't you, Ricky? What the rainy day fund cash balance is right now? Last year, 630, it was, or it's projected to be about 84,000.
I got $84,032.78.
So that's not a bad, for a small town like this, that's kind of a nice little nest egg. And so, it's something we might look once we put together the budget later this year. And, I wouldn't wait till the end of the year. It's more like October, November.
Right.
Something like that. Yeah. So that's one of those housekeeping items. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. No, thanks for the questions. This is supposed to be interactive. So we already beat up Tammy on her tax bill. So.
I did file an appeal, just so you know.
Did you really? Because you thought it was too low?
They had me, my new assessment was 310. I can't sell my house for 310. I can't. So I feel that
What was it last year?
268.
Yeah, that's a big increase. Okay, motor vehicle highway, the most confusing two funds you've ever heard of. Now, you're going to say, Mary Ann didn't give me two funds, did she? Right? She only gave you one fund, MVH, right? So let's go to our MVH fund. Okay,
I see two.
bottom of page 2. Now, this is, I'm glad you did this. I saw you kept this up, Mary Ann, and that's awesome. Look at the bottom of page 2, very bottom, and hopefully, Phil, I'm on the right fund. It says 25,000,
Right.
and it says MVH restricted. Repair and maintenance.
Right.
You with me?
Mhm.
Notice why the word restricted. Okay? There's 2 MVH funds, believe it or not. Okay? And Ricky, you have 2 on your books and records, right? And we have to put those both together into this budget. Why? Because the state didn't really like the legislature said, we're going to give you all this new gas tax money, which you never got. And we're going to make you put half of all that new money into a fund called restricted. Okay? And it's a nightmare for the town of Monrovia, right? Because it's not a big dollar amount. And, and they were trying to beat up on some of the people that were using all their money to plow snow, i.e. St. Joseph County. Well, I'm sorry, if you live up in St. Joseph County in South Bend, you probably need all your money for snow removal, right? And so they said, we're going to make you put some of that, we're going to make you put 50% of the gas tax revenue you get in a separate MVH fund called restricted. Now, you might say, well, Greg, how much does that mean? Well, the easy answer is now remember, I didn't number these. Go to page 1 of 1, right behind page 3 of 3. One of these days, Kate, on this next one, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At the bottom, we'll circle. And so everybody see that in the middle there, motor vehicle highway?
Mhm.
You see that distribution of 70,000 for 2025?
Right.
You got to take 50% of that, and you do that on a monthly basis, right, Ricky? Because you went to the good accounting school of SBOA that said you had to do this. And he's got to move 25% in essence of the 70, or this year, if you got 70, you would move 35,000, right? Half of 70. And he has to move that to the restricted fund. Now, what does that mean in your budget here? If we truly do this, Mary Ann, we may want that 25 to be 30, I would suggest. Okay? Because we don't have an option on the 50 revenue. 50% of the revenue has to go there. It's not if we like to, it's we've got to. So to be able to utilize that restricted fund, you want to kind of keep it close to what we think the projected revenues are going to be. Okay? Now, what can restricted be used for? Paving. And I like to say period. Okay? There's been a few people try and use it for payroll because they said the guy was out there paving, and State Board of Accounts went all the way to John Ayers and made him do every time card in the entire county for every time a laborer was doing payroll on pavement. And you don't want to go there. And then they didn't even believe it once John Ayers did it. John Ayers is the Hendricks County highway engineer. And he's one, and Monroe tried it, and it's not worth it. So it's really supposed to be used on pavement. Now, what are you using it on this year? Do we know?
Well, MVH restricted, I think, was the community crossings if that ever got completed.
That's called paving, and that can be used for a match. And even if there is consulting in the community crossing grant, that's okay. So matching it up, that's your number one source for matching your community crossings.
So you're saying you can use it for the engineering to do paving?
If the engineer is in the community crossings grant project.
And then
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
not engineering over here when your project is over there.
Gotcha.
So I can't answer that that's not an absolute.
No, but they did handle the community
Yes.
crossings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So generally that's been okay.
Okay.
Okay. So what we'll do is then again, that's why we label it here and we have all of our clients label it restricted. Now, what you notice on this little write-up is, so what I think you've done, Ricky, and what we always, I think we haven't seen your June 30th balances yet, but you should have moved that appropriation out of the unrestricted and moved it down into the restricted. One goes up, one goes down. Appropriations don't change in total, but that's how you do it on Keystone. Okay, because if you try and charge the community crossing part of the grant match to restrict it, you have to have an appropriation there. And if you move that appropriation January 1, you're okay. You just got +1 and -1 in the old, we've seen people not minus and they overspent the first one. So we'll double check that when we get your 630s. Okay. Does that all, again, convoluted, but we didn't write this book, right?
Right.
We only wrote this book. Okay. So you've got to know that from a managerial standpoint, that there's two different funds. They are restricted. Can't use the restricted for snow removal if we get 25 inches of snow next year and one snow. Okay.
Then it's
So-
emergency.
Pardon me?
Then it's an emergency.
Well, that would be emergency. Then you could go to the rainy day.
Yeah.
25 would qualify probably as emergency in one snow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So any questions on MVH? So when we set this up and if we can make the numbers work so you don't have to additionally appropriate, Mary Ann, we'll look at maybe increasing that to 30.
Why wouldn't we go the whole 35 that it says we have to put in there though? I don't understand that.
Because you're guaranteed that like a check is in the mail.
Okay.
Okay. So once we get the 630, we'll see if it's, this
If it
is.
is 70.
Yeah, if it
Okay.
is 70 or less than 70 or more than 70.
Gotcha.
So it'll be fine tuned. Okay. That's why, again, remember that 18-month is so important.
Got it.
Okay. Tax increment, we don't have that, but everybody understands TIF means tax increment financing and it requires an allocation area. You have no allocation area the last time I looked.
Yeah, we do. We just don't have a building on it yet.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So no AV at all is in the allocation area.
It's barely in it this time.
Okay. So what I'm suggesting then is, would we be collecting money in 26? Possibly.
Well, if its AV goes up,
Right. So
It's just
for,
an open field right now. I mean, there's nothing there.
okay, so it's an open field, nothing there, but and the value will actually go down because farm value went from what, 2195 to 2045.
Well, it's zoned industrial.
So but it's probably still priced out at agriculture. Okay, so not this year, but you can always put a TIF fund in the budget And you can always, do you have it set up on your books and records?
Not yet because we
Okay.
haven't had any revenue coming in.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened.
Okay, and so we won't worry about it for 26, but in 27, that might be where we would go ahead and put it on the budget. Even if we don't collect the money, we would appropriate it, okay? And then you wouldn't have to do an additional.
Just as a hypothetical, because AVs are going up in Morgan County, if, say, I think it was only like $600 a year they were paying or something for farm ground.
Right.
And say it did get raised to 800. How does that work? Will that come as a payment from the county, that extra $200?
Yes,
Will it be specified that it's for the TIF?
yes,
Okay, so then
Yeah.
that's, he'll know when to do that.
correct. Ricky gets this thing called Form 22. And it says property taxes. For people that I told you had a park fund, it would say general and park and TIF. So that'll be another line on that. And it wouldn't be the $200. It would, if you said the 600 is what they paid, an 800, yes, the 200 would show up on that Form 22.
Okay.
Okay, and we'd know that, and he'd know that. So, good question, Tammy, very good. Yeah,
Just don't want to mess up.
yep. And so then what I would do is preemptively in 2027, set up a budget of $5,000 for capital outlay, and then you wouldn't have to do an additional appropriation. What could you use it for? Pretty much anything. Capital outlay, but that additional appropriations, there just takes another public hearing. It's going to take, it takes more DLGF work. So anytime you can prevent that, I look at that as an opportunity. Okay. And if you didn't get the money, you can't spend it, right?
Right.
So, okay. General fund can be, there it is, can be generally used for anything allowed by law. Notice we put allowed by law. Okay. Please understand. Okay. Let's talk about your 3 LITs. I almost said income taxes, but I should have used LIT, local income tax. Okay. You get Cadget. And if you go to, stay on page 101, 1782. Okay. You see the local income tax LIT for levy freeze. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
That's basically by the way, and you notice that on this 1782 as the add and the deduct, okay? So this is the amount of income taxes that they froze, basically replacing the frozen levy. Okay, so your 4% is actually coming as a result of this LIT. But if you notice down there on R138, that's the certified shares or the Cadget that you get directly into the general fund that will self-destruct in 2028. Okay, so it will probably not be called R105, and it will not be called R138. And if you read anything in SB1, you have to ask the county, because you're below 3,500, you have to ask the county to levy income taxes for you. And that's going to be fun.
In 2028.
Well, you're going to do that in 2027, ask. And I'm telling all my towns, pass a resolution in February of 2027 and say, we want you to levy an income tax at or exceeding the current income that we're getting and provide for growth in the future. So we'll help you with that resolution, but you should all points notice that on that, okay? Because it also says if they don't ask for it, then you don't have to do it as a county consultant. Remember, I do a lot of counties.
But they could go ahead and refuse this anyways, couldn't they?
Yes.
So,
But the answer is if we look in the back of the room and we line up all the people that, hopefully, the county said no to, that it would be a large group, then, House Ways and Means is going to have to figure out a better widget. And so stay tuned. It's going to get fun. Okay. So that's the one that's down here, Cadgett County Adjusted Gross Income Tax of 69,000. There was a nice supplemental. You got 8,000 more in supplemental. What does that tell me? That tells me that Ryan's been working so hard in making so much money that he paid extra income taxes. Sorry, Ryan, but paid extra income taxes after he filed his returns, and all those returns came in and it was higher, right? And so there was additional supplemental lit that came in, and that's a pretty good percentage out of the 69. That'll probably go away. That'll go away in 28 too. Okay. We feel it probably will stay in 26 and 27. I call these pennies from heaven because they kind of just drop in from the sky. Okay. You're never assured if you're going to get them, but they drop in from the sky. Now, we do believe that you're going to have strong enough income that will probably get an increase in that 69. We're thinking maybe 6% or another 4,000. We also believe that that will carry across both added, if you look at that on page 2, and I've now labeled my other page, page 3, and we believe that will fall into the PSAP also. So, some saving grace, we believe we're not going to count on the supplemental. We're not going to budget that for 26, but we are going to budget a little extra income tax. Okay. And so match that up with your 4%, which is not 4% growth quotient. You're going to get some extra money, not a whole heck of a lot. Okay. So if you, they don't even put added on here on the 1782, nor do they put PSAP. They're going to have to expand the 1782 one of these days to include all the important funds, especially when they're going to become real important if they exist after 2020. Ricky, I've not heard any guidance from the State Board of Accounts if the old PSAP fund is going to self-destruct in 28. But the answer is, if we leave a balance at the end of 2027, they're not going to make you return it. They're not going to say, send Tammy a rebate check for her extra income, for her income tax. So you're going to, at this point in time, maintain those. So it doesn't mean you have to spend in 26 and 27 all your income tax balances. Matter of fact, may want to keep a little. So guidance going forward. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
The
Stop
motor
me anytime.
vehicle highway. So you talked to us about
Now, which document are you on? This one?
I'm on 1 of 1
Okay.
with that wheel tax / surtax distribution.
Yep.
So that doubled from 24 to 25.
No. 18 months.
Okay.
Half year in the first column, half full year in the second column.
Okay.
So remember, I told you, we not only line up the expenses for the second half of this year, but they're lining up the revenues for the second half of the year. So that first, great question, Tammy, and everybody, it's July 1 to December 31 at the top.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
We
Is that for the county
estimated, we look at his books for the first half, and then in the guidance from the DLGF, we estimate.
But
So
that is when you buy your license plates, basically.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's where it actually comes from. I'm sorry. I thought you meant where does the number, but yes, that's when you pay your license tax.
Well, someone somewhere in all
Yes.
the conversations I have every day said that there is, for the community crossings grant, there's going to be like $85 million that's held for communities that have a wheel tax, but we're not big enough to have a wheel tax.
No, you're not. So they will discount that for you. Okay, meaning they'll understand that. Okay, because you can't create your own wheel tax. And I've been creating them with cities, and even there's counties out there. But no, so that won't be a score against you.
But we wouldn't be able to get anything out of the 85 million though.
No, that's not necessarily true.
Okay.
My understanding is if you don't qualify for a wheel tax, you still have an avenue to ask for it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, there's no absolute in writing, but that's my understanding because you can't do it. Okay.
Because it is to encourage communities to do it. And
No,
if we
it's-
can't do it, then we can't do it.
According to House Ways and Means, it's a way to force everybody to use the tools that they have in their box before they come to ask for more tools.
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, you don't have that tool in your box. So you're handicapped, so to speak, from that.
Okay.
So good, again, good question. The verbiage out there is for the group as a whole, but there's exclusions. So, okay. And good catch on the wheel tax, surtax, yeah. And wheel tax is on, and surtax is on bigger trucks and things like that. And it's set by the county in this case.
Okay.
And a city over 5,000, I think, can create their own.
So is that mandated through the state, how that is sent into local government, or is that determined by the county also?
No, it's in the state statute, and I believe that one is what mileage, road miles, and you haven't increased your road mileage at all in the town by annexation, right? Okay, so you always have to certify each and every year your new, and I've got a lot of growing towns, so you got to certify your new road miles and its population road miles, I believe, on that one. Subject to check. Okay. While we're on page 1 of 1, any other questions? Hume capital improvement. One of these days, I'm gonna go to Ways and Means and say, get rid of that fund. It's ridiculous. It's cigarette tax. It's used for the same purpose as CCD, cumulative capital. It basically, that's all it can be. It's very restrictive on what you can use it for. So Parks and Recs, local roads and streets, again, very restrictive. You can't use that for payroll. It's got to be for bricks and mortars. It's the second good match to the community crossing. The second.
What, LRS, the local road street?
Yes. Again, if I was king for the day, I'd put 706 and 708 together and call it quits. So. Okay. So let's go back to we'll stay on the 1782. That first page, not the cover page, but page 1 of 1 is your actual budgets that were approved. And that's what we're going to want to make sure is in your appropriation ledger when we get your 630 numbers. Can't be $1 less, can't be $1 more. Should be the exact totals. Okay. The fund report, page 1 of 3. This is what pulls it all together. I call it pulls it all together. So let's look at the second column over. It'd be nice if they use something other than numbers, but this is the general fund, right? Fund 101.
Yeah. General fund.
Okay. They say you had a cash balance last year of 682,000. Your 200,000 must have been without CDs. Okay. Because 683 is what you had in the bank last time, 1 year ago. And property taxes to be collected, miscellaneous revenues, basically comes down to line 5 is what you have to spend the second half of this year. So remember, Tammy, you picked up on the first column in the revenues. There's a formula built in here, and that said in 2025, you're going to spend 222,000 of your total budget that shows up down on line 15. of 376,000. So we're going to get the June 30th numbers and see where you stand. Okay, probably on course. So, okay. And so this is the form that pulls it all together, and what it says down here at the bottom on page 8, on line 18, it says you might have started the year out with 587. Here it says this is 539. I'm on line 18 of the 101 fund, and it says you're spending down cash balance about $40,000. So your budget in the future, this could go negative, and if it does, if during the budget process, it won't let you file it. So, but in this case, you'll be okay, but that is applicable to some of these other small little funds too. Okay, so right now, the smallest fund is 1301, which I believe that's the park fund. Park fund, yeah. So there you're expected to have at the end of the year $2,300. So
How much do we have, Ricky?
halfway through the year.
Park fund has, well, we took that 41,000 for the park impact fee, and they've been getting more, so now there's 5,886.65. And then,
You've got your park impact fee set in a separate fund, right?
yeah, because in December, when the last council approved to make a park impact fee fund, we then moved all the fees into a separate fund. So.
Because you got to use park impact fee for park impact as presented in that document.
So what does the park impact, how do we have 5,000 in there instead of 23? How did we get that?
1,000 or? Is that right?
Yeah, you said we have 5,
Well, 2,300.
right, that's what I'm saying. We should have about 23, but we have 5 something. So I said, how did that get there?
Well, now 2,300 is at the end of 25. Last year, you had go to the very top. Last year, this time, you had 12,161. So you have spent some of your park money down.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
because
down to 2315 according to this. Yeah.
in January, the park spent some money from Aquatic Designs for like a plant package thing or something.
Okay.
And that was, yeah, the wetlands, that was 15 or 18,000 as far as I'm aware.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. We went through 2 of 2's that. 3 of 3, we went through that. 1 of 1, we went through that. 1 is just says the max rate is 5 for CCD, and you have no mental health, no developmental disabilities. I'm on page 1 of 1, and CCD levy. That's how it works. It comes back into your max levy, so it helps you.
That's supposed to be 62,979 up there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So currency figure, okay.
And then the other one just says, it's just kind of a summary. So that's that. And this is our budget 101. Now I looked at your, I went through your budget estimate. Okay. And so on the casino riverboat, that's probably one, Ricky, that we may have a little bit, just a heads up. Let's see.
It's on the front page.
Yeah, no, I've got that,
Oh.
but I'm comparing to here. How much money you got in casino riverboat right now?
We have $44,631.
Okay, so 10 and 10 would work at this point, it looks like, because you got 10 and 25 and 10 and 26. If he only had 12,000 in there, then see how that would work. Can't spend but you haven't gotten your casino, you get that in July or August.
Yeah, I think I got it. Yeah, July.
Yeah, July usually comes in. She comes after 6:30, so it's probably not in that number. So Rainy day, we've covered that. Your rainy day balance is fine. We can put 2020. Your general fund, I like what you did, Marianne, on your raises. You didn't go too aggressive. Especially with the dollar raises and the 5% raises, it sounds like a big number, but it's not very many dollars. So, looks possible. That one will be the one that we'll be telling when we get the 630 numbers, but looks pretty good on funding that. Local roads and streets, what do you got in there?
We got $104,114.90.
And you're not going to spend any of that the second half of the year, or are you?
Not as I'm aware right now.
Okay. So that budget would work. We could put more money in 2026. Marianne, we could put 50 there. And to be a match for our community crossing next
Oh,
year.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So right now we're sitting at what, 20,000 proposed for 26?
Yes,
You're
published
looking at
budget for 25
You're
and
thinking
published.
50 is the
Yeah.
way to go in it. Okay.
Marianne, how did you come up with the numbers? Like, I mean,
Oh.
I appreciate that you did it, but how did you do it without knowing what kind of new money we were gonna get?
I didn't. They asked me to put in what I thought. They didn't ask me to look at anything else about new money.
They being us.
Yes.
Okay. We like you to, and I guess what we're thinking is the community as a whole, when we say, put your first shot in.
So, off of your 2% ballpark
Mhm.
estimate that you think new money will be, what is that number? Because I'm having a hard time going with all this without knowing what percentage of the new money we're talking.
Well, in the general fund, let's see, Tate, where did we come up with that? Right up there, the town should allow to receive about 4,500. Cut that in half, maybe 3,000. You might get 3,000 of actual money in the general fund, and then you add another 4,000 in Cadget. You'll be lucky if you get 7,000 to 10,000 more money.
Okay, so I do have one question. We were only getting not even 3%, I think, on our,
CDs?
we don't have any CDs. It's all just sitting there. And that went up to 4. So,
Thanks to Tammy.
well, I'm just saying it was gonna be an additional $70,000 for the year. Is that anywhere here?
No,
Okay,
not yet.
okay.
Now, it won't be 70, more than likely, after Chairman Powell's not there. So it'll get cut. But yeah, you got to be careful.
It has to be negotiated. It's not just gonna drop down. They did tell me that.
Right. But you got to be careful about setting a budget on the interest income. We like to say that may be what you move over to rainy day or you use as a one-time. It should not be used to fund payroll, period.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just saying, is it,
No, I did not factor that in.
was it in this budget front in the past?
Yes,
That's
And
what
it-
I wanted to, like, okay, if they were bringing in 3% on there,
do we have the sustainability from last year in the file? Then we probably had that, well, I can tell you what we pegged it at, because we put it in here in the 1782. So, interest income on page 1 of 1. You bring it into the general fund, don't you?
It's R what?
it says right at the top, earnings on investments and deposits, $0.
Yeah, but that's in the rainy day fund.
You're talking about general, and there's supposed to be an R.
Yes.
I don't
Should
see-
be a 902. And so it's probably, the state's probably lumped it into They shouldn't lump it into, so our 203 looks too high. I think they put it in with our 203 because you having $115,000 in 1 year of building and planning
Well,
doesn't sound right.
for,
But what's it been? First half.
we've had, it's
mean,
like,
there's been-
we're the leading growth community in the state right now.
I mean, there's been a lot.
Yeah, they're still building new houses over in Homestead, yeah, that's part of it.
There's been a lot.
So
Yeah,
I don't think that's it.
Did you find the
I
sustainable?
mean, I'd have to probably look at,
You would think that it would be in here somewhere.
Yeah, it's in there
probably
someplace.
have to look at permits.
It's been-
What's the fund number where you have it, Ricky? I mean, you don't just drop it in the.
No,
general.
I understand.
Oh, God.
Do you know what?
You
the-
put it in the general fund,
Yeah, it's
but he
like-
doesn't
it's-
have an R. An R whatever is DLGF's numbers.
Yeah, but I think she's meaning like where I.
But he
put
has to
the-
report it, right?
Yes.
What bucket is it?
It's the general fund, but it's like when I put it in the revenue accounts, like we have building permits, like in the fund itself, so it's 1101. Building permits to be like in the twos.
So where do you put our interest income?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I'd have to see your Keystone report for revenues for the first half.
Yeah, I can get that. I know I
So
put it. in
we'll have
the
to look that
general
up
fund,
for
yeah.
you.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of surprised I didn't say anything.
I just want to
Yeah.
see how much,
Is
That's-
built into the budget
I mean,
process.
there's no chance it's
Yeah.
a rainy
Yes.
day. I'll tell you that.
Pardon me?
I said there's no way it's in the rainy day. I can tell you that. It's
Oh, no,
definitely
no.
in general.
Yeah, but you pass a resolution to put it all in the general. fund.
100%.
Yeah. You're supposed to.
We do have some way that it's earmarked that we do know what it is or how much it is without
Yeah.
having an R identification on it.
Yeah, there, you've got it. Okay, so you did send us
Yeah.
last year. No, this is this year. So this is this year, and interest income was 35,000 for first half.
Yeah, 1101609 general interest.
And building permits was 34,000. First half of the year. Do you think that's gonna hold for the second half?
I would think so.
Usually we'll use about 80% for the second half, because people get started, and don't, get started and they don't take out current building permits in August and October, to build during the winter. But, so,
I think they're trying to drop as many as they can to get the concrete work in before
yes,
the winter months.
yeah. So that's going to be the important question, because usually we would take, and maybe make that 30 or 28,000.
So should that be on this? That
No. Remember, this is
1609?
revenue we're talking about,
Oh,
Phil.
I was talking about Form 1. Okay. all
Right. Form 1 is expenses.
Right.
Okay. So that's when we get to the rest of the budget. So back to your question, Tammy, she took a stab at this. What we'd like you to do is start looking this over, and either, and maybe you need a work session on your own where you go, last time I sat through, you were working on each person's salary. You don't need me for that. You need to decide if you want to give a salary increase. But, you've got about 10 to, and if we count on some of that interest income, 10 to 15,000 maybe on a going forward basis that you can afford. And otherwise than that, it's probably not going to, you're going to spend down cash balance.
So basically, when we're making these decisions on what we want to try to work into the budget, we need to try to stay pretty close within about $10,000 to last year's budget.
Yeah, and that generally right now, and that insurance is a biggie, because that steals 11,000 right there.
Insurance went up.
Yeah, so I always say, every time I give this presentation, salary is kind of number one, top priority for people, because people got to make a little more because of cost of living. Insurance is number two. Everything else is number three. And it gets deducted from there. Okay. So you got to decide what you're going to give in your salaries. You got to fund the insurance. And the insurance is, again, an estimate. And do you have group health insurance of any kind? Is that what? Okay, this is property and liability insurance. Okay, and yeah, now 11,000, that was an estimate, right?
No, that is what it went
Oh, did it?
up,
Shucks. Okay,
yes. Yeah, I did not.
doesn't surprise me. Yeah. What they're, I mean, they're having a lot of payouts. Matter of fact.
2 claims in 2 years.
Okay, yeah. And in some of the counties, we're having to start an
Big stuff.
insurance reserve fund, cash insurance reserve fund. Yeah,
Is it possible to do payment with taxes from the wastewater treatment facilities, so wastewater treatment municipality doesn't pay taxes, it's from municipality?
so one word, absolutely.
Say that again?
Payment in lieu of taxes, so since the wastewater treatment facility is part of a municipality, but they don't pay taxes, you guys can, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys
Absolutely.
can have them, you can have the wastewater, out of the wastewater treatment funds, that you normally can't use that money for anything other than wastewater treatment. I believe if you budget for it during the budget process, you can say, we want $100,000 out of the wastewater treatment fund to go over to here, because this is what we want to use it for. And you designate it for what you want to use it for, whether it's salaries, whether it's part of the improvements of the building, whether it's to pay off the police car, whether it's whatever. But it's an option to come up with money that you can't normally take, because once it's set, you can't go and take money out of that fund because it's wastewater treatment.
Now, it wouldn't be anywhere close to 100, but it might be 5 or 10. You're supposed to technically do a calculation. And it's based, on estimates. Then the other thing is, a smart guy like you would ask me, well, what about a stormwater utility? And I would say, okay, let's
I'm more like, hey, public safety, local public safety tax.
Well, right, so you could create a stormwater utility at $5, $7.
We do need one. We
Huh?
have big drainage issues around
Okay,
here.
so if you had a drainage issue and you wanted to, and you could charge you need to do a little study. You could do a $5-7 user fee study on that. And then you could basically allocate some of town council, get it out of the general fund. You could put it over into that stormwater utility. You can't put that. We tried police officers patrolling storm drains. That didn't work. Hell of a concept, right? Because you're driving roads anyway.
The idea is if some of that money takes care of somebody else's expenses, then there's other money that can take care of the.
Bingo. So, yes, so payment in lieu of taxes out of your wastewater to your general fund, 80% of all communities do it. The IURC allows it. Stormwater, creating a stormwater utility, appropriately allocating all the expenses, halvesies on people or a third. Well, how do I get to a third? General fund, wastewater, and stormwater. Those are things that we could look at in 2026.
And that is definitely something that I would ask from you guys at FSG is, I know that you helped with raising the 5 pennies and all that.
Yeah.
We are open to what we don't know.
Super. Because in the past, it was maybe a little bit, it felt like we were selling snake oil. So, but we want to be, we can be open and give you some
We
suggestions.
may not take every suggestion,
Absolutely.
but we can't possibly decide if we don't know it.
Yeah, and I take no's as well as I take yeses.
Well, you did that tax levy where we would have, what, getting an extra $18,000?
Exactly. The excess levy appeal.
Yeah.
That's why, we gotta,
That
we
was-
gotta go out and annex something.
We didn't know anything about that
Yeah.
either.
Tell me about that. I don't know about that.
Well, you might have been in the, but yeah, you weren't on the council yet, but we had I guess we were shorting ourselves $18,000 that we could get from the state.
Correct.
And,
So it's called an excess levy appeal. Remember that max levy of 113,000? Well, if you go out and annex the world, okay, you want to annex the entire Morgan County, that's not annexed, that'd be great. Anybody up for that?
I was
If
gonna
you
say,
could-
but you gotta take care of it too.
Yeah, if you could get that approved, okay. But yes, let's say you go out there and annex 10 acres and you got a willing person to annex. And you annex that 10 acres, then what happens is we put together what we call an adequate fiscal plan, not a fiscal plan put together by your lawyer, which is what used to be done. And they put in zeros. But then what we do is we actually, Tammy, calculate there's going to be increased cost. And we say there's going to be $20,000 increased cost. So, and we file that with the state board or with DLGF, and they say, okay, well, we'll match revenues with expenses. So we'll increase your maximum levy by 20 because you're going to incur 20,000 more of expenses. That's still allowed. The growth quotient of exceeding where the 3-year growth, let's say you are the fastest growing and you are growing by 5% each and every year and the growth quotient is 4%, that game was torpedoed by the state this year. So that didn't exist. Yes.
After the sewage treatment plant, I was remembering that the funds for that we collect for the sewage treatment plant had to go, be spent on basically anything associated with the sewage treatment plant. So
Mhm.
we could not increase fees and such to have excess money for other things other than the sewage treatment plant.
Well, that's true, except for payment in lieu of taxes. That is a statutory revenue requirement. We call them revenue requirements in the utilities. That is a statutory requirement. Giving Lauren a raise for the hell of it is not a statutory requirement in the utility world.
Okay, so basically, what I understood was basically correct.
Yes,
Okay.
in general. And then there's, like I said, there's always exceptions to the general rule. The general rule in the statute, it says operation and maintenance and payment in lieu of taxes, okay? Now, operation and maintenance can include 1/3 of part of your salary because, when you come to a town council meeting, you deal with wastewater issues, right?
Right.
Or always say,
Is that
right?
sewer?
Yeah.
We don't pay the town council anything from the sewer.
So,
You don't?
Mm-mm.
out the sewer.
You don't allocate any of your salary to the wastewater treatment plant.
No, and I am a,
Well, I know you have a
Sewer
separate
CEO.
consultant on that, but you might want to ask him about
he's our separate consultant.
that. Thought it was, oh God, I used to work with him at the IURC. Not
Oh,
Pat
Steve
Callahan,
Brock is
Steve Brock.
he's doing the SRF thing, but,
Well, which is the wastewater treatment.
Yeah,
well, for our
Great study.
expansion, but we never talked to him
no, we
other
never
than
have.
that.
We we can pay ourselves out of that.
Well, so, I mean, let me back up. You don't have a sewer board, right?
No, it's us.
You are the
We
sewer. board.
are, yeah.
Okay, do you ever talk about sewer at a public hearing,
Yes.
at a town board meeting?
Yeah.
I rest my case.
I take phone calls after
I
phone
rest
calls
my
after phone
case.
calls on the
But
sewer.
yeah, it's a section of what we.
So
do.
then what you can, when you do your payroll ordinance for 2026, okay, Ricky, we could say that what's the town council salary for one person? Not the president, but 2,000?
It's 3.
Three, we could say the 3,000 is going to be paid 40% by sewer, 60% by general. How do you come up with the 60-40? It's generally based upon your supportable time that you spend on the wastewater utility in general for the year. Okay? That's how you justify it. State Board of Accounts has no issue with that.
Like 20, 70, 30, something like that, maybe.
It's a large portion of what we do.
Yeah.
Guys, how many times, guys and gals, how many places do I work in? It's always, raise the rates, talk about the budget, there'll be 3 people here. Raise the rates on wastewater,
Everybody's.
pews will be full. Yes.
So back to the payment of taxes. I know Morristown did it last year.
Mhm.
And they, and obviously there's formula, you said there's formula. I don't know how they did it. So they got enough money to pay for a salary for a firefighter.
Yeah, now they've got a big wastewater utility. You guys don't. It's supposed to be based upon your assets. And
And I think they have water utilities.
oh, well, then they get it from both. You get it from both. Because you can actually get it from stormwater, water, wastewater. I mean, I do Pittsburgh. We get it from 5 utilities. They've got gas, electric, water, stormwater, and sewer, wastewater. So you can take a town council member and split it 1/6. And now you're talking, sure. Yeah. But you're supposed to, you're, number one, the assets are supposed to be in the town limits. There was a lawsuit in Bloomington's utilities are outside, and that was denied, and it's based upon the invested value within the utilities.
So obviously, since they're doing an upgrade to
Yes,
the facility
Yeah.
over there now, it would make it
yes,
valuable.
yes. And it should be within the wastewater rates. It should be put in there as a revenue requirement. Yeah, I'm surprised, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I do this
We
for a
don't know
living
everything.
everywhere.
That's exactly why we are marking this time today to really try to dig
Yeah.
into what we need to be doing.
Well, that's why we call it 101.
Right. I think we just moved up to 204.
You have, thanks for throwing that in, so. So,
He wants another truck.
another what?
I got different budget items that I want. I want you to pay off the truck, but I guess.
I thought you were wanting another truck this year.
Well, I do too, but I might have a way to get.
A truck / police car. Yeah, okay.
A police vehicle.
Police vehicle,
I'm
yeah.
very, and you know me, I'm very fluid when it comes to budgeting. If I get money, I can use it for one thing, and I might find a way to get it for free and use it for something else.
There you go. That's called resource.
That's why he's here, because anything he wants needs
Yeah.
to be discussed in the budget.
Right, and so what you got, your task as a council, you got to work with Mary Ann, you got to get me a good budget. And because we're going to start putting this into Gateway and we're going to start seeing if it's going to work in total. So get going.
What's the next step then? Like,
You guys coming back with a preliminary council budget.
We can't hold hearings until August though, right?
Right,
Yeah,
which,
okay.
well, we could hold a hearing in July, but why would you?
No, I'm
You,
just saying.
you
but-
take your time because I keep saying first meeting ought to be, did we have it in August last year?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, late August and then September, late September, you got till November 1. Sometimes there'll be late breaking information and we're going to need a little time because she's going to prove me wrong and she's going to say, see, Greg, I told you the net AV was going up 10%.
when will we know that?
When the county gets done.
That's what I'm saying, like, what's a ballpark? Because you have until.
I think it technically was
June.
supposed to be already due by July 1,
Okay.
but everybody's behind. So probably August 1 at this point. So that's why more information will be coming. Don't go too fast and furious. Otherwise we'll go back.
When does the state tell us how much money we're going to be getting for these different funds?
Never. They'll throw out some guesses, and the guesses will probably be so conservative that they're not worth it. So we kind of sit down with, based upon what we know and what we already know and what I've already told you and where we are on the first half, and we'll make estimates on all of these. They will throw out some guesstimates and we'll kind of right size both of them, Lauren. You know, the auditor's office is supposed to send something out by August 1, but that's assuming they get the AV, in July 1. So the whole boat is going to be behind a little bit.
Okay.
So that's
But
why,
our date won't change.
pardon me?
But the day we have to have our stuff in won't change.
No, but they still say you've got to be finalized by November 1. So they don't say go out and run and do it, When I told you we got a budget done now in Hancock County, that means on a preliminary basis, So what I need you to do is come up with the best here. We'll work it back through and then say, well, here's what we need to tweak. Okay.
So are those workshops that the council has, just because, guys, I don't know, are those like these kind of things where we could do a work session, but
Yes.
it's still a public meeting?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Anytime you get I'm not your lawyer, I'm the CPA, but anytime you get this group, it's got to be a public meeting.
I've got a question on the opioid funds.
Oh,
Okay, don't those things have to be spent by the end of this year?
no.
I didn't know.
That is a question that I have on my list, though, is what do we need to
No,
spend this
We
year?
should go ahead and by the way, okay, this is the one that we got to get right. What is precision data escrow?
Huh. Isn't that Jerry?
That's the one that Danny had.
Right.
I had no idea. I wasn't here when that fund or whatever.
Okay,
was
we got to torpedo that name, okay,
I agree.
and call it, is there an enabling ordinance for that fund? There should always be an enabling ordinance for a fund.
Sure
Where is
there-
this fund,
I'm
guys?
sure
Very
there is.
last page. Page 4 of all of our pages.
Precision data escrow.
That makes no sense to me and never has, and let's get rid of it for 26. We'll make it a home rule fund and we'll give it a name of whatever it's supposed to be.
I thought it had to do with our IT repair and stuff like that.
Huh?
Verizon escrow fund.
Oh, yeah, we do need to talk about that one.
So now opioid, we ought to go ahead, if you've got a plan for that, and you got to meet those guidelines, we should set up a budget for it. We should add that as a home rule fund. And if you've got this Horizon thing, we should set that up as a home rule fund. Now, that means we'll have these, but the state won't, you know what I mean by a home rule fund? Home rule fund is you, the council, appropriate it and spend it. The DLGF doesn't opine upon it. Okay, they don't say thou shall not do that. They kind of play Pontius Pilate and wash their hands of the home rule funds.
So it's like our priorities, not state
Correct.
statute stuff.
But the State Board of Accounts believes that every expense has to be appropriate.
So this has to go away or be renamed or something.
So what other
Precision data.
funds do we have like that besides this precision data thing? What's this Horizon thing you're talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about.
So when I started getting the fund reports to that, appropriation reports, there's a Verizon escrow fund that's got like $7,900 in it, that no money goes into it anymore. You don't spend any money out of it because we don't know what it was there for. My only thought was when there was a buffer zone, there was potentially something that the town collected money from Verizon for their cellular towers or something.
Yeah, there's a Verizon tower right at the
And now
school.
that the buffer zone has gone away.
It's going to the
that
county
money
instead of
anymore,
us.
But that money's sitting in there. Well, and, I
So,
mean,
so you're right. That is I think that's what that is.
so we don't get it anymore because we're not.
Case.
We're not at the buffer zone, so we should torpedo the fund or rename it.
Well, we can't then just simply rename it. We're gonna have to do a dormant fund resolution, subject to you not finding a resolution for what it's for. And have a dormant fund resolution say that it's not a usable fund anymore. And we might be able to revert that back to, most of the time, dormant funds will revert back to the general fund.
Let's say general, or since we spend so much in communications and IT, dump it into there since it's technically a Verizon thing anyway.
But
Well,
we
that's-
don't,
It's a difference. I mean, it's revenue.
yeah.
Wherever, but it's, I noticed it sitting there and I'm like,
Dormant fund resolution, talk to Charlie.
And we think that is what this precision data is.
It's gotta be because there's no other fund on your fund report like that.
So, Ricky,
Oh, wait a
what-
minute, there is one that, it says up here, 20 cents.
Ricky, how much is in that Fund 9504?
9504.
Almost 8,000. $1 short.
Yeah.
7,999.
So that is what you're talking about, most likely.
Precision data escrow on this sheet here says
Fund balance of 20 cents.
20 cents, yeah. I have no
Ricky,
idea.
we may want to do a couple dormant funds.
Yeah. All right.
In
We
that
write that
dormant
down
fund
too,
resolution.
So where, how do you see that it's 7,900 then, Greg?
Oh, Ricky sent us your,
Yeah, it's in the packet too.
But then you say it says 20 cents. So are there
Well,
two
it's on
funds?
I think he was talking about the Verizon escrow account, that's 79.
well, no, okay, let me clarify.
Sorry,
I'm on the
Oh,
proposed budget that Marianne was gracious enough to put a draft
And it
together.
shows 3,000.
And shows 3,000 is the appropriation.
Right.
Okay, we cannot seem to match that up with the fund report that's in your packet.
Right.
Because it says it has 20 cents. Okay, so first of all, we're getting rid of that one on here,
Okay.
okay? For 2026, we're going to torpedo that. We're going to add to the home rule funds, if you want, the opioid unrestricted. And I'm going to go down here. What is non-reverting number 2? I don't see a non-reverting number 1.
Well, I would
Dummy
wonder that
me.
there's an ARP grant fund. I don't know if that.
Don't go there. No, that's something separate.
Okay. Non-reverting
what was
number
it?
two.
Oh, 2503 non-reverting.
Yeah, non-reverting
That's
number 2.
That's another one that was created when I wasn't here. So that's another one I'm not sure.
Okay, put that on your hit list too, number 3, okay? Gosh, I mean, yeah, time. Okay,
Greg, can you check with Charlie to see if there's any other ones too that because he's doing a monthly check on
Yeah.
everything we do, right? We're
I
still
believe,
doing that?
yes, I think so. I'll have to check with him. And then ARPA, let's go to 1180. That's the one that has to be spent by the end of this year.
Oh, okay.
Now, what are you spending the rest of your ARPA on?
What can we spend it on?
Anything.
Well,
I'm gonna get a squirt gun.
I mean, I'm just saying, we pay it off. and it's-
I mean, the council last meeting, we said that we could spend on anything. so
now,
I'm not sure.
there was a prohibition on ARPA funds being used for paying off of earlier incurred debt. If this was a payment on the debt or early payoff of the debt, our ARPA that was in the law, not paying old, if people were like, oh, you should have bonded $2 million, I'm gonna pay that off early. That wouldn't allow. So that, how much is left on that?
Oh, there's a couple more payments. I mean, I don't know how much is in our,
So
What is it?
6,000 for,
I think we pay partial
Yeah.
payment.
I would pay the current payment possibly. But I'd want to double check with Charlie on that. He's our ARPA expert.
And then
Are there any other funds that have to be totaled out this year besides that? Because
There's
we
one
used the
more.
one, right?
yeah, there's one more.
Wasn't it 2240?
2248, the SCA 67 Lloyd Special Distribution Fund has to be spent before the end of the year.
But we use that on the alleyways also.
Well, that's, yeah,
But there's gonna be a little bit left,
There
right?
is gonna be some left, yes.
that's what, 2,000 something?
According to this, there's gonna be more than two.
No, I'm saying, something like that.
I can't talk about-
Yeah, there's 1,500 or 15,000 in here.
So the alleyways are 13.
Are they?
Yeah, the alleyways are 13,750.
You got any more paving to pay
No,
for?
no, not that I know of.
Well, street signs.
That may be.
We do
Yeah.
street signs. Could check, maybe spend that rest on street signs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
because I know we're missing, I know we're missing
I think
some.
I've ordered most of them. I'm just waiting on someone.
Well, we can pay to have them put up.
We don't have funds. There's zero in the fund that pays the person.
No, but with the extra that we'd have left over.
We have 2,200.
We could
left for
appropriate
2,000.
them, right?
Yeah,
I had asked Alan if he would put them up for inspections.
we could use the 2,000 to pay to somebody to pick them up, couldn't we? Oh, that's right, you can't do payroll.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
We're talking about the 2,000 that's left over from the alleyway stuff, and we're talking about maybe using it to go ahead and have somebody.
Yeah,
put
you
up
really
the tree signs
shouldn't
and stuff.
reimburse payroll with that.
Yeah,
That's probably not a good one. That special distribution was supposed to be used on roads and roadways.
well, maybe we can get,
Drainage, maybe a little drainage.
fix the road out here in front of over the gravel, I guess.
It's already fixed.
Don't we always have that puddle out there?
Well, it's already been fixed.
Graded it the other day.
I don't know, I was just thinking of it.
All the alleyways.
Well, you guys keep thinking. You got till 12:31.
Yeah, that's fine.
And so that's all the ones I think, we've got 2 or 3 of them there that we'll want to think about the possibility of torpedoing. Again, I will ask the question on all 3 of them. You do not have an enabling ordinance codified or any of your codes that you can find on those 3 funds. Right?
Yeah, correct. And
Okay.
all 3 of them were way before my time
Because
starting.
we'll put that in the resolution, whereas no enabling, ordinance can be found on these 3 funds, and kind of go from there.
Mary
And
Ann?
again, we won't write your enabling ordinance. We can suggest some phrases, but your attorney has to buy off.
Mary Ann and Ricky, that seems like that's a dual responsibility. I would like for you guys to both work on that together, because I know that most likely there is some code somewhere, because I do believe Janie was very thorough on that kind of stuff with the ordinances and resolutions. It's
Yeah.
gonna take a deep dive to find it. The other thing is, obviously, Ricky's in charge of the funds, but I need you to make sure we're spending the funds, right? And so we gotta find out what we can do. So even though he works with FSG, I'm asking you to make sure that you find out how much that money is, so that we can use it properly before it expires.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have asked them to include me on all emails.
Can I-
And the other
Absolutely.
thing we can do is, once we put together the resolution, we can send it to DLGF and say, we got these 3 funds. Sometimes they can go back into their audit work papers and find it. And, we'll ask them so they don't torpedo us later.
Right.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Okay, well, I learned a long time ago, your mind will only absorb what your posterior will endure. And so, it's 3:00. We can keep going if you got more questions. But, sheriff had to go arrest somebody or,
Yeah, I'd be
Chief.
honest with you, we did ask Ryan to take off and Carol to take off today from work
Oh.
to be here,
okay,
because I understand you work 8 to 5 for the most part, so I
Yes.
really would like to try to get as much done today as we
Yes.
can. Let's take a 10-minute break, let everybody's brains process a little bit,
Perfect.
go to the bathroom, and then come back and we'll see
Yeah.
what questions everybody has.
sounds good. Perfect. Matter of fact,
We'll return at 3:15.
the restroom's down the hall, right?
Knock your knocker, let us
Right
know.
It's the only joy I get out of this job.
Is there a men's and women's? or-
There's just two back there.
Okay. Just two. Well, that's all we need, right?
Oh, we got some downstairs.
Let's go downstairs.
I gotcha.
So I've got a question. He mentioned it's up to your attorney to draw these resolutions. I have noticed that for the county and Martinsville and Morrisville, their attorney drafts all of their resolutions and ordinances. Is that something we should hand off to Samantha? I mean, she literally does nothing else. This is something that we could possibly get no.
I think you can give her an example, though. you
Yeah,
know,
send her something that we maybe did in the past.
Here's what ChatGPT says, and
Yeah.
we need this.
Well, and there's times that I've actually pulled an old one and just typed it up because that's the word of
And
it.
I'll tell you what, Hunter is quick to respond, and they're free to use them. I mean, obviously only as much as you have to, because we're in Samantha, but if you have something that you want a second, go ahead.
That Verizon fund. At one time, there was a fee that, the cable televisions or cable networks and such paid, to be, service in the town. Verizon, I think, also did that. But, the one out here, the new one out here, I don't think was ever set up that way. Now, that hill where, that is setting, that is school property, and I believe that is, it is in the town. Now, I know that Verizon pays, the school to be able to use that. Good money, good money.
Well, I appreciate you and I'll tell Ryan, appreciate you guys being able to do this during the day, because in Buzzard, July, it's a disaster at night. Because there's so many public meetings.
Yeah.
So.
feel like a broadcaster. And we're back.
Yeah, we're back. So, Ricky, your 10 questions you have.
I got none.
Ryan? Questions, concerns, gripes, criticisms? We take it all.
Let me keep thinking here. This is my first one, so I'm trying to,
Digest.
yes.
Lauren, since this is what, your 40th budget? What questions you got?
Well, the only thing right now is that, we're gonna have to probably increase just about every fund, just because of inflation and such. But the thing is, how far can we go?
Yeah, your revenue's not gonna keep up with the inflation.
Right.
That's what we, especially with the insurance. And so the noose is going to tighten around your neck, and 2028 is going to be really telling.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to put together the action plans, which action plans are look at the dormant funds. Action plan number 2 is suggest if you can give me some assets of the wastewater utility, we can suggest a payment in lieu of tax number. We can suggest action item number 3, a possible stormwater utility fee. Now, usually it's residential is all one rate. Non-residential, notice I just moved over, is another rate, and it's based upon how big the non-residential is. Because the more pavement you have, the more water you cause runoff. So action item number 3 would be look at that, okay? So that's the 3 major action items I have. You're going to action item on your side, one is come up with a draft support of this. Now, when you say most fund, you're not going to update CCI. That doesn't need to be going with inflation. General fund, salary, insurance, and you ain't got much left. Notice I said ain't, okay? Because you ain't.
So what is the cost of living increase index this year,
Everybody tells me it's 2.5% to 3%.
which is what it's been all my life? But is that still accurate with inflation the way that it is?
Well, yeah, okay. I call it Greg's market basket of inflation, which if you go to Greg's market basket of inflation and you go to your electric bill, you go to your Kroger bill, or I shop down here some, they got some pretty good prices on meat at,
Grayburg.
yeah, I call it IGA almost.
We all do.
A lot of people go buy meat there. Yeah, a lot of people.
If you take those things and create the real market basket of inflation, you're up 10%. And hold on, your electric bill is going to do nothing but increase. The more demand from things that start with a D, these utilities don't have it, so they're going to have to buy it from the market. So all of our bills are going to go up. And, I attended a Google conference where they said, we helped drive down electric rates. And I said, well, notice I didn't complete that because we're recorded, but, that's not true.
Well, and even if
I work in the electric industry. That's my major employer.
and so even though it is going to bring in tax revenue, it's like, I haven't seen the benefit yet, and I'm open to seeing it, but I don't
Right.
see it. But if you don't do it, if you don't at least get the tax revenue, then you're paying the utility bill and you don't get the tax revenue.
So we generally say if you're looking at something on salary, the best you're going to be able to do is 2.5%, 3% at most, especially with the group already eating 11,000 up. So.
And then how would we go about, I guess Matt left, so we don't really know what he was wanting, his budget.
Who?
Marshall
Oh.
Wright. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to have to be tight. Close. Because public safety low, we said you're going to get a little more but I think you got to really look at, and what I would advise council is get that 6:30 expense report. We've got it printed out, right? Get that and look at where we're spending, how we're spending these appropriations. That's what you should do in your work session for the first half. Take the first half number, let's say appropriation in public safety, number 230. And if you haven't spent 500 and you only spent 100 of the 1,000, look at cutting down the 1,000. I call it right sizing the line items. Okay? And yeah, and this is, everybody knows this report, right? It's in your back. This is the expenditure. So you can pass it around. That's the 6 months spent. So that's where you go in and right size your line items. Okay? And appropriate in the correct spot the appropriations for 26.
One other action item that I have been kind of.
That's
asking-
number 2 for you guys, by the way, or part
Okay.
of number 1. Number 2 is also, then we're gonna look at, you gotta remember, you know, it pretty soon, we have to approach the pastor.
Oh, nothing can be further.
You've got to think about that resolution and putting the county on notice that you're gonna need income tax money.
But we can't do that until 2027.
No, you can actually do it anytime you want.
Well, then, yeah, I mean, I think that that's definitely something for the, if you could set that in your calendar for like February of 26, I think we're,
A resolution by the board saying, you know, guys, this is serious.
well, and if we're going to make a budget, then we got to know what we can have. So
Yeah.
it'd be great if that was already put into law so that we would know what we could
Yeah.
work with. Is there other action items from you before I forget what's in my head?
No, go for it.
So an
But
action.
women don't forget.
Oh, I do. I'm a fish.
Yes, I said that, Ryan.
I really could use, and I need it from Charlie and from Ricky to work together. I need to know, out of all that fund report, what is earmarked for matches, you know, what we've already got going out on the sewer. All of that is it's just spoke out, and I don't feel like there's anything, like, I just want good old common sense math. You know, like, okay, we have over $4 million in all of these funds. 750,000 is going out for this, 150,000 still going out for this. Like, what's actually going to be in there in 6 months? Right now, we've got a lot of money we're holding to pay out, and I'd like to know what's still coming out of our funds on hand.
Okay, I think I understand that. So we may need to work on that, but that was, did we do the sustainability last year? Because that's what the sustainability kind of lines up. We did it the year before.
We did it the year before, but I don't think we did it last year.
We didn't update it because that was really the document that kind of spelt it out. So, you know, and we recommended it cost a little bit to put it together, but
What's a little bit, though?
I'd have to figure out where we are. So,
And that's why I don't know if it's a
Yeah.
ballpark of, you know, it might cost me $1,500 to get that information, or am I paying it just by hour for Charlie to sit down and, but I feel like we have all these things that are up in the air, and I don't have any idea as the council president, when those are coming out and how much they're gonna be.
Okay, let me think that over.
Okay.
So I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, you know, and, you know, I have a lot of, I can go all over the state of Indiana and they go to this fund report and they said, oh my God, we got $4 million. We can afford 5 raises. You know, no, you can't, because they're already allocated to funds, and your MVH fund can help. Do we have anybody on the MVH payroll?
No.
I didn't think so. It's consultant out, right? And so, you know, you can't use that for salary. So you got to understand the funds control what's being spent out.
And we really could use a public works person, even if it was a part-time public works person. So that would be something I would like to work into a 2026 budget.
Okay, so give me a dollar amount.
And so the other thing that
Part-time. It's gotta be.
so what foreshadowing I see is that, okay, we have 4.2 or 4.3 million. What do we have right now?
Probably 4.6 now.
4.6 right now. And so we have that 4.6, and I feel like kudos to previous council members. You guys have not taken on debt. You have lived within our means. You know, like we have not put in new street lights and new sidewalks when we can't afford it, and we haven't done any of those kind of things. And we've lived within our budget, and we've done all the right things, and we have a nest egg so that we can start to pay for those things. And now in 2028, they're going to look at us and say, well, they're stable, they're good, they don't need what they're asking for.
I hear you.
And that's not going to
that's a
be
good
fair.
concern right there,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, because we don't have streetlights, we don't have good sidewalks. I mean, there's a lot of things that we could be doing. And I just don't want us to end up going, it's like going to mom and dad, you know, I've got 20 grand in my own bank account, but can I get my allowance for this week? The county's going to say, hey, you guys have $2 million in your fund, but just out of the blue, Paragon and Brooklyn, they're really hurting. So we're going to give them a bigger share. And that's not going to be fair because
And see, that's where we, in most places, we use our sustainability document to show that, because you can show that. In here, it's not an easy read.
Mhm.
And so, you know, and I, you know, let me think about it, but I really, you know, yeah, I hear you.
And
But that shows the segregation of the funds.
but so when we go and ask, you know, we went to funds, you know, we're gonna need funds from the county because come 28, we're not gonna be getting to catch it and all this other stuff.
You're not getting any LIT.
Right. We're not getting any LIT. We're gonna have to ask them. And yeah, why should we pay? Because other communities didn't use their budgets wisely, and we
or
did.
they already paid for their
Or they already
streetlights and
paid
they've
for
already
this.
paid for their sewer
Right.
upgrades and like, you know, they've done all those things and now they're in a financial strap where we still need to do those
Right.
things.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're going to be adding on to the sewage treatment plant here, September or start?
Yeah, we're
Okay,
under
Stan.
SRF right now. We're trying to get all of it together.
Yeah, and keep in mind of your 4.4, that's probably 2 million. So, you know,
And that's, how do you know that it's 2 million? Because I don't know it.
the fund report.
Out of the 4.2, you know, there's actually only 2 million sitting there.
Yeah,
How do you know where that other 2.2 went?
because it's sitting into the, so go to your fund report.
Yeah, at the back on the bottom of the grand total.
Yep.
Yep.
So there's 4.4, so there's 4.4, now take 201, I just call it 201,
What
The
page are you on
210.
real quick?
page 2. of
I'm
the
in
fund report.
appropriations,
No,
not,
you're on the appropriation, this report,
It's on the back page of that single.
fund report.
am I in the wrong
Yep, you
packet?
you got
We got a single page of it like this.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, yours on the front
Yeah.
back. Okay, so the total is 4.4. Circle from here, this 1.6, down to the bottom there. And total those up. And if Tate did that with his calculator, he would get above 2.2 million, or 2.2 million. And, you know, that's what you have segregated in the wastewater and you cannot use for the general fund. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't even know that really down to Council 101 now, not Budget 101. But that's important to understand. And I get that a lot of time. I have 4.4, why can't I do
Well, I
something?
understand that some of it's in like sewer and some of it's in the general fund, But I don't understand if we have $2 million even sitting in the general fund and what's our operating? That's what I'm trying to get. I want to do simple math in my head. Okay, we have $2.2 million in our savings account, or we have $2.2 million and how much more is coming in this year?
Yeah.
We
That-
figured out that you think that we're only going to get $10,000 more dollars, even though we've added 200 new homes. How's that work? I don't understand how we're only getting $10,000 out of 200 new income tax
But
payers.
so remember, your maximum levy
Mhm.
only goes up 4%.
Right?
500 new homes creates AV. It doesn't create you an avenue over the basically 4% unless you annex it and we had appeals.
Right.
Now,
So,
under the prior schematic design, if you had that growth and you were growing at 3% or 5%, then you could appeal it, but that one was nixed. Now you can only do it with annexation.
So, the property is already annexed.
And you get 20 million more. Remember I said 25 million more of AV. What does it do? Drives down your tax rate. Offsets the 4%. Anything over the 4%, you do not get. Period. Other than, maybe I gave you the one exception of the CCD. Your 5 pennies, you will get more money.
Okay.
But yes, 500 new homes doesn't do you any good. It just costs you 500 times more,
Yes.
technically. Okay, so economic smart growth going forward, okay, is having AV growth equal the growth quotient that the state's going to allow your max levy, because anything over and above that drives down your tax rate. Now, if you were not, how far away from 3,500 are you? If you were like 3,400, that would
no,
go
I
out.
mean, it's what, 22, 23?
Okay,
I thought we were more than that. I thought we were like 26.
Who knows?
We're probably at least.
so let me explain that if you were over 3,500 and you bring in 500 new homes, now you get the income, because they're going to virtually fence the Monrovia town, and now you've got more income coming in, but you're between a rock and a hard spot. Okay, you bring in 500 new homes. I'm saying, what have you done for me lately, other than cause my traffic? I'm going to almost be on the anti-growth scenario. Okay, because at this point, it's not paying dividends.
Well, we'll be 3,500 people by 28 at least.
If you get there, then we're talking a little
No, we
different
will be
story.
35.
Do you understand the threshold, right? Over 3,500, if you got 3,600, you get to create your own tax rate. Up to
Yeah, that's until
1.2.
2028 and when they change their mind again. That's how I feel about it. Like,
They're going to slightly change their mind. I thought this was really funny because I went down to Georgia and I tried to explain the new LIT to a smart, educated person. They were like, this sounds like a disaster. I'm like, yeah, it kind of is, doesn't it? Because it was hard to explain to someone not living in Indiana. Well, you're going to have a tax here, you're going to have a tax here, you're going to have a tax here. So it is going to get changed somewhat. But remember, House Ways and Means gave cities and towns what they wanted. They wanted to right to have their own income tax rate. And they're going to stand there and say, we gave you what you want, now you die by the sword and live by the sword. One of the most kind of depressing thing I heard was, once you get to the growth quotient and you get to the 3% cap, everybody gets to a 3% tax rate, and everybody gets to their cap of LIT, which can happen fairly quickly. What's left? The answer is nothing. There's no more revenue. So what are we gonna do? Start evaporating? Is the town of Monrovia going to evaporate away? There is a potential slide at this point. Hate to tell you.
Well, that's why we're fighting as hard as we are.
Right. And you
Because we
got,
haven't liked the representation that we've had in the past.
and you got to continue. Matter of fact, you got to get a full court press. Okay. Because you're in a difficult spot. Town of Clayton, town, what, we can go town. Those are difficult spots. And I've already done it at council, at county councils. They're like, we're going to raise somebody's property taxes and so to pay AMO. What the hell? And, and Representative Thompson was there and he said, yeah, that's the way it is.
Now, do you do work for Morgan County at all?
Not for the county. No.
Okay.
No.
Well, the reason I asked, so they just did, the Morgan County RDC just did like $3 million to the Metropolitan School District of Martinsville. To my knowledge, because we had looked into it before, the only thing that was TIFed at this time was Monroe Township. And they put all of that money into Martinsville getting a roundabout.
Mhm.
Our school is 107% capacity
Mhm.
and we can't buy ground
Mhm.
because we can't afford it.
Mhm.
And I just like, that it's the representation that we get at being at the edge of Hendricks County. And Hendricks County puts in sewers and paving plants and all that along us. It's like we're in this pinch of nobody cares what happens along this county line.
I worked for the fire department for a couple of years trying to, get them some new money when Danny was there, running the books. It was like, you don't have a leg to stand on because the county is the one that bestowed and they just couldn't find new ways to, keep up when it was obvious then. So it's Mr. Obvious now too.
Yeah, that's definitely something we need to look into. Like the Morgan County Rural Development is like
Now, remember-
75% funded by
Okay,
Stuff
now,
in Monroe
has
Township.
your school corporation showed up at the RDC meetings and said, we need help?
I have a note in my calendar to reach out to Brock Sears, who's been very active in our town stuff. Tom Kennedy's on our RDC, and suggest this to them because they tried to buy the land that Arbor Homes is trying to develop right now. And because they can only offer the average of 2
Mhm.
appraisals, it was well under $1 million. And then our Morgan County RDC gave $3 million to a roundabout for Martinsville
Yeah,
school
I
systems.
heard you.
And
Yeah.
it's like, $1 million would have changed our life out here.
Now, have you guys gone to the RDC and asked?
No, this is the first time I've heard of Morgan County RDC spending that kind of money.
So there's nothing to preclude you, and from this school, I work for the Hendricks County RDC, and we have school corporation, we have Mill Creek School every meeting.
Wanting,
Well, saying, we're here, we want you, make you aware, Avon, I work on that RDC. We give something to Avon schools each and every year. My point is, if you don't ask, you're not going to be bestowed anything. You need to ask and you need to stay aware of those meetings.
And she's right as far as, Monrovia doesn't have any representation on anything except Carol Snyder, who's chairman of the Republican Party. She's on the RDC.
yeah, but like you said, we got to tell
Have you
our school
reached out to
system
her?
to go get some money so
Yes.
they can get some land bought.
Show up, be heard. You don't have to have representation, but you have to show up and you have to ask. Or otherwise I'm not going to give you anything.
With the development out here, the town has tried to create a sewage treatment district.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, in last Thursday's paper, the county has come out and has now said they are going to create the sewage treatment district out here from Monroe Township.
Okay.
Now, we had already put in a request for this.
I'm
So they
aware of
come
that.
in- So they come in and basically, I think, overrode us.
Yeah,
And this is something that's been going on with the county and this area.
sure.
So we're,
Yeah.
Elections, anybody that wants to run for county council or commissioner in place of Mr. Kenny Hill needs to file by.
So Martin County,
January
Indiana,
13th.
I go down to those commissioners every time and I say, which one of you three are going to run for state rep? Because you're 50% tax exempt. You got to get a payment out of the state. The only way you're going to do it is run for state rep. So it's the same thing. I'm sorry, you got to
You gotta
work
get
on that.
somebody in there.
Yep. Okay, what else? Lauren, you
Well-
had the last question, so we're gonna move to Tammy if you don't have any other questions.
I'm through right now.
Tammy?
My action item is give me some basic math. What do I really have here? And what do we still need to pay for? That's what I
Gotcha.
need from all of you guys.
Dr. Phil, I'm sorry, you're not a doctor.
You guys covered everything. Okay.
Okay.
I
Well,
just want to make sure we did have some sort of an action item.
please share with your two, I know Carol's been through it before.
The good news is it's all recorded.
Yeah, that's right. That's
It's
right.
amazing.
So share with them and have them listen because this is basic. This is basic and this is where we got to start. And, attending AIM will not boil it down to you all.
No.
You need it boiled down to you. So,
Thank you, Craig.
yeah, and thank you for having me during the day. I appreciate that again.
Council, if you'll stick with us for just a minute, I
Good.
do have a couple things.
If not, I'll
Is there
make a
any way
motion.
you
I
could
leave.
come up with what we could actually like spend for like a street department or whatever, because you said it'd be very minimal when Tammy asked you that earlier.
Did you put that on your action items tape?
Public Works person.
Public works. person.
Yeah, so I said, give me a number, give me a part-time number.
Could
And
you
I'm-
give us a part-time number to help us, or do we need to give you that part-time number?
Well, I would start at 2025, probably 20, part-time. Now, is that,
You mean hourly?
An hour. Yeah.
well, I meant total, about 20,000 a year.
Oh,
If we take that, pardon me?
If we work someone $20 an hour for 20 hours a week, it'd be $20,000.
Yeah, I think 20 is kind of cheap,
yeah, I do too. For that kind of skilled labor.
so that's where I was coming at, is a total budgetary number, and you know what the local wage would require. Yeah, I think you're at 25.
They should make more than somebody at Freiberg's.
Well,
Funny
the
budget,
previous
though.
amount was 18 an hour.
Yeah.
And we budgeted 0 for it every year.
Oh,
You're like, so I was just going up a little bit on
Yeah.
that.
So let's use 20 and see what let's put that in as a new item. Remember, payroll increase, insurance. I always say this is not the time to put new people on because if you hire me for
But that's
this,
the problem. We haven't.
right.
And now we're not gonna have any money to do it if we don't.
But yeah, so you may have to put it in there and stomach it. You may not be able to guarantee in 28 you can fund it.
Right.
I just want you to know that. So that's my guidance to you.
but
But yes, you could make it for the next year or two from fund balance, but sometimes you got to spend money to make money.
And Tate, if you could add on there that we would really like for you guys to look at what you would recommend we do as far as 26, like you did with the stormwater.
Yeah.
Like what are maybe 3 things that we're not doing that you think we should be doing?
Well, we're definitely going to cover the stormwater, the payment in lieu of tax. And, that should have even been suggested by, your sewer.
Town
consultant.
marshal.
Yeah, well, yeah, glad
you know?
No, it's great that he did. I'm just saying,
Right.
that's what, but there's no way that any of us know that because
Yeah.
we,
Because having not worked with you so much, the new group, I didn't know if your eyes were wide open or if they were wide shut.
No, we're a,
well, I don't think that's gonna hurt any taxpayer if we take it out of money that we can't touch and move it into,
No, but like a new stormwater fee.
yeah.
and
But
things
see,
like
I feel like that probably wouldn't be as popular as taking it out of the sewage and putting it over
that.
here.
It wouldn't be.
Right.
Yes, right. Okay. If not, thank you very much. I'm making a motion, I leave. You don't have to second that.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
And Tate leaves. Oh, yeah, yeah, good catch, good read.
What?
We don't know where that town is.
Oh, town of Monvia. That was from our attorney, Marion, it's not you.
Okay, I'm like,
We-
what did I do?
We'd be happy to,
We'll update that and email it to you.
but we don't know who we're responsible
We
to.
need to add, change the spelling of town of Monrovia, so you'll need to email those, NDAs to them.
I will.
All right, thank you very,
Got it.
very much.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, council, the quick question that I have is we have on BZA on Monday, we have a contested, event. And because, our BZA president is the beneficiary of the meeting, he obviously is not going to be able to vote. Thank you. And so Marianne's found something in statute that says if a member of a council or board has to step out, that I can assign someone to represent them in the vote. And we've never done that in the past. But I feel like with them being such a small board, that it probably would be a good idea to put someone in there. But I didn't want to do it without input from all of you. And as far as I'm understanding, Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, this is an appointment that I would make and a decision that I would make, correct?
I believe so. Donald is the one that did the research, since the BZA is his now. And I believe that is correct, that you would appoint someone in that position just for this meeting.
And at first I was against it, but I do believe that it is a good idea because there are, Rita hasn't had to vote on anything in 2 years. And Parker is brand new. He has absolutely no experience in this. And then the other two have had tremendous exposure to the project. So I feel like it would be good to have another person, but I want your input. I don't want it to seem like we're doing it for any kind of shady reason. I think it's just to have one more person's opinion on it.
What is the subject?
Englert's.
Huh?
The Englert's,
Ice cream shop.
Ice cream shop?
yeah. I didn't know because I wasn't at the PC meeting. I was on vacation in May. And we had 39 people sign a petition against that. I had absolutely no clue about that.
But no one showed up, and Bob Nichols said, where are the people who signed? And they're still not coming.
I've been to some of the planning commission meetings, and there's been a few people that was against it. But, I've not seen that, number of people, at the meetings. I've not been to every meeting.
Marion, have you guys had, like any competition like that in the past? Because I'm sure you probably don't have a lot of experience, but the first thing that I kind of think is, can we verify that those people actually live in the town of
I
Monrovia?
could verify that. The answer to your question, no, we have not had anyone file an appeal.
Not an appeal, but a petition.
A petition? I don't believe so, not to that extent.
Well, I will say that we've never, like, that's 39 people to sign the petition is a pretty big oppose.
And they're just opposed to it coming out on Terrace, the exit.
And that's what I'm just saying. I feel like another person would be a good idea to have it on there. What do you think, Ryan?
He's going, is it gonna be me? Am I right?
Sit in Olman's.
I would say probably so, since sounds like a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely something that it's for us to have something so contested is pretty unusual.
And not for the two that have no clue about anything, it's been 100% steamroll.
Right.
Now, you mentioned Ed Olman. He would actually be a good one, but
I don't
is
think,
he out of the woods where he's not,
Not
his
yet,
immune system's not compromised?
not yet.
I can call him,
He's out.
but
I thought it would be a good idea to go with Lauren. Because Lauren's from that community. I mean, he's from that edition. He's had plan commission experience. I think he'd
Have you
be,
been to some of the meetings?
I think he's the person to put in there.
We can do that.
if you want me to,
I feel like that if I were one of the 39 people in that subdivision, I'd feel better knowing that you were getting the information
Yeah.
too.
Now, did you sign the petition?
No,
Okay. I just want to make sure.
no.
The lady came around and talked to me,
Okay.
and so, and,
That's 39 people just in,
I don't know. I'd
That-
have to see who all it is.
I'll have Donald. I'll
Can you send it to all of the council members?
have Donald. do that. I don't have it.
Okay.
He has it.
Were you there for that meeting then?
Yeah, I was at the meeting. Yeah, I was at the plan commission. So,
Yeah, basically, it was two people that, was at the meeting,
that was it.
and, it's, the lady,
Darling.
was it Darlene Standiford, or?
Yes.
Oh, she was at
Was it Standiford or Lawson?
Lawson.
Boston. I think she's the one across the
And
street.
they went out of their way to go ahead and move the exit so that it's not even facing her driveway at all, so.
But basically, I'd have to go look at exactly where they wanted to exit at.
And we're having a meeting tomorrow morning with Narita and Parker Mead. So can you come tomorrow morning at 10
Would
too?
that be a forum?
Yeah.
That would be a forum. He's been privy to things because he's come to the meeting, so you can't have a forum.
That's a good point. Okay. Okay. All right.
We have a lot of meetings where there is a quorum, but we never vote for anything, so.
I was gonna say, it's not a vote, it's just to get the information.
But you're discussing.
You're
things
discussing
that's
something.
Coming up. I think that it could definitely be iffy.
Well,
He
maybe,
could come in another day.
yeah, you just come in and talk to Donald and Mary Ann about what they're asking, what the variances are. And
Okay.
Mary Ann, can we get for the BZA, can we get a list of all the variances they're asking for? Okay, and that will be enough for people out there, that kind of stuff.
One of the questions I have is that, here's, they said that, he sold all of his property here in town. Now so that means that across the street from where the ice cream place is, he sold that.
Yes, it now belongs to Garriott, the black cat that lives behind it.
Okay.
That's what we were told. All right, I think that, is there anything else that, while we're in public meeting, that anybody needs to discuss?
we have a meeting Wednesday night, Lauren?
Yes. There's not much to talk about. Had a salesman come in wanting to sell us a snowplow truck.
Yeah, we don't got money to move.
So,
All
again,
right, I guess I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I said,
Wait.
I'm taking a motion, I can't make it, right?
Hold on.
Who made the motion to adjourn?
I made a motion to adjourn.
Who's second?
I'll second it.
Ron?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Do we have anything to sign?
No.
Yes, you guys, motion's adjourned. Did you watch your internal controls video?
I haven't done it yet.
I'll get around to it.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm putting it into that. I put it into it with Lauren too. This
I
is,
haven't
she has
either.
been
We're doing
asking
it
for
right
this
now.
for 2 months. I am giving you until Tuesday to do it, or you're gonna be in contempt.